Welcome to another episode of the Palace Huddle Podcast. Here are your hosts, Rob Schwartz and Justin Onayemi, two Bears fans who decided talking into a microphone was better than shouting at their television.
What's up, Palace Huddlers?
Huddle up!
Almost as good as the Bears. We got to win.
That's right.
We got to win. It's always good to have a podcast with a win. I feel like I'm not ready to just yell and scream, but sometimes I also feel like yelling and screaming makes it a little more fun.
I don't know about that. It wasn't fun hearing all the talk leading up to this game, but
that's right.
I think the Bears put a lot of it to rest. Although if they lose next week, it'll be right back again.
Right back again. But this is episode 92 of the House Huddle Podcast. We are almost to 99.
Getting there.
As always, I'm Rob Schwartz with Bear Goggles On. My co-host Justin Onayemi.
That's right. So 92. It's got to be Hunter Hillenmeyer, right?
Yeah. I mean, at least for our age range, right?
Yeah.
People in their 20s probably have no idea who we're talking about.
Maybe not. I mean, Daniel Hardy was earning his way into my good graces, but his penalty against the Colts on 4th and 2, he was the one that
got the
encroachment on the 4th and 2 punt, and I think it's one of the plays that kind of cost the Bears that game. Yeah. So Hillenmeyer it is.
Hillenmeyer, I always called him the Abercrombie Fitch of the linebacker corps.
Well, I feel like he's kind of like the Jack Sanborn of that defense, because you had Briggs and you had Urlacher, and then there was him as the third.
Yeah. He
was fine. He was solid, but they were the headliners.
Now, I do think they played a little bit less nickel back then. So, like I said, like 60 to 65% that they play now is probably more like 50-ish. Yeah. But
I feel like he also would find ways to make an impact on special teams 100%. And things. So just an all-around solid player.
Yeah. But yeah, so the Hunter Hillenmeyer episode. If you guys are joining us for the first time, you're first hearing our podcast, please right now go hit the subscribe button. The reason I say that is because you will be automatically entered into a free giveaway for a Chicago Bears jersey of your choice. Any player current, any player that's not current, as long as the pricing is the same and as long as it's not a custom.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of possible guys out there that people would want to get jerseys. So we're getting close, under 100 away.
Under 100. I think we're at 90 subscribers away at the moment.
All right. Sounds good.
Keep chipping away. So also, if you are already a subscriber, please recommend this podcast to other people. I talk it up when I see anyone with a Chicago Bears shirt on. So
just thousands of those. So let's go.
Yeah. All right. So Bears win. It wasn't always pretty. There was a lot of sitting on the edge of your seat moments. Felt like there was always a chance that Matthew Stafford was going to come back and win, but they shut him down.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of don't necessarily feel that way. Throughout the whole thing, I felt the Bears were a better team. And coming into this game, I think a lot of talk was about how much of a better coach McVay is than Eberflus.
Because he is.
I'm not here. Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not here to dispute that.
Okay.
I'm just saying, at the end of the day, the players go on the field and the players have to play.
Yeah.
And through 3 games of the season, particularly on offense, the Bears have gotten in their own way. Some of it I would put on coaching and play calling, but you have a new coordinator. You have a few key new pieces to this team. It takes time. Every week doesn't have to be a full-blown referendum on, people were saying, fire Shane Waldron. What would that do?
Right.
You are a team that thinks you are a playoff-bound team. And now, thanks to today's victory, you're 2-2 with most of the league. I mean, it's really balancing out. There are a lot of teams sitting at 2-2 right now.
Yes.
And if you're looking at who the Bears have, and I think things are starting to come together and you anticipate it getting better, also with a soft part of your schedule here, you could be one of the teams sitting pretty, 2 weeks from now. And then I don't think we'll be having those same conversations about who to fire and that kind of thing.
Well, we talked about it last week, the parity in the NFL. I mean, it's obviously something that the NFL enjoys, right? I mean, I know they like having a few teams that are powerhouses, but there aren't a lot of juggernauts right now. Even watching today, I do believe Kansas City ended up holding off the win. The last I saw it was 17-10. But like at that point, they were losing 10-7 at one point. It was 10-10 for the longest time. I mean, against the Chargers, and the Chargers were beat up. Like they were without their top offensive lineman. I think Alt played, but even if he did, I think Alt played. As far as I know, he was just questionable going into the game, but he was dealing with a knee injury. So like they were out without guys, right? Like Herbert's playing hurt. There every week it's like, is Herbert going to play or not? So
we're turning into a Chargers podcast.
But the thing is like, well, I'm a big Jim Harbaugh fan. But the thing is, like, they were able to keep it close against the Kansas City Chiefs. So like, it's definitely a league, like you said. Now being 2-2, you feel a little bit more comfortable, right? Like we talked about, you needed 2 wins out of the next 3. It didn't matter how they got them,
right,
and in what order. You do feel a little bit more comfortable now that this one's.
I think the order matters though, because if they were 1-3 now, neading to win those 2
Correct.
to even it up, it would feel kind of different. But yes, McVay is a great coach. But they are out 3 starting offensive linemen, their top 2 receivers, a safety, a corner. You should beat them.
Yeah.
And the Bears did. So I thought that coming into the game was something I wanted to take a look at. And another huge thing that was talked about all leading up to the week was, is it time to go away from DeAndre Swift and look more at Rojo? And we thought he might even start.
Were you like reading my mind right now? I was literally going to say, instead of the Hunter Hillenmeyer episode, we probably should have just called this the DeAndre Swift episode.
We could, but what do you want to say about it?
I mean, the numbers don't match, obviously, for the episode number, but he
had 92 rushing yards.
Did he?
No, I don't know.
Okay, I mean, it might have been that. Okay, because
I mean,
he had over 100 all-purpose yards.
Make
right?
your point, but yeah, I'll check.
The purpose of my whole point is there's 2 things. One, I think it was the smart move to bring Roshan in more. Okay, 93. He's the next episode.
He should have taken the knee at the end.
Right? But like going into this, a lot of people were down on DeAndre Swift. He was running too much side to side. He was dancing too much, not hitting the holes and just getting forward. Now, some of that was on blocking. Some of it was on scheme. But he wasn't getting to the outside when they were needing him to get to the outside. And when he would cut back in, he was running into his own receivers, his own linemen. It didn't matter who they were. They weren't the defense. He was running into them. This week, and that should have been last week that they fixed those things against Indianapolis because they were a bad rushing team. We talked about it this week. Also a bad rushing team in the Los Angeles Rams, but they were able to make it work. And I think, to your point, and everyone was excited about the Roshan Johnson thing, but I do think that having Roshan in there played a big part, even though DeAndre Swift had the better game, because there were times where you just knew you needed tough yards, and who did they put in there? It was Roshan.
And Doug Kramer.
Yes. Right.
But sometimes Kmet. They were constantly getting a bigger guy in the backfield and following a lead block.
Yes.
In short situations, which they were able to get to when they weren't getting penalties.
I don't know if Shane Waldron listened to the House Huddle podcast recently.
He did. And he subscribed. So maybe he'll win a jersey.
He did. Maybe he will. That might be his only jersey. Or maybe he's just following, social media. Because we've been talking about that now for 2 weeks, especially though after that Indianapolis Colts game. Like that, had he learned his lesson, had he not needed to learn a lesson and did this against the Colts last week, they probably would have been 3-1.
Yeah. Well, but here's the thing. It's going to sound like a cop-out, and it also sounds really dumb to say, but there has to be some truth to it. He's also still just learning his team.
Yes.
Because he talked about Herbert as the goal line back last week, and that's not right. No. Not to mention he didn't use him that way. Right. I mean, you give him a run out of Wildcat. Yeah. That's not really how you use a traditional goal line back.
No.
But Rojo is that. And today he got a touchdown.
Yes.
He also, both him and Swift are going to be very, very effective if Caleb Williams is able to recognize when there's not a throw downfield and check down.
Yeah.
That's a good part of the game. You had the running game going. Now play action was open. Yep. That one of his best throws was to Kmet off of a play action over the linebacker, right to Kmet.
Oh, it was beautiful.
But you have to have the run game going for play action to even be plausible.
Right.
And today it was.
It was. And, I know Dr. Truth in our comment section has also brought that point up quite a bit, right? Like he has said, look, they got rid of everyone on the offensive side of the ball except for Chris Morgan.
So there was one other that survived.
Okay, maybe one other.
I don't know who it was. So Morgan's the big carryover. And
was it the running backs coaches?
I don't
because
remember.
I feel like I think it's Jennifer. I think she was here last year.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Either way, Chris Morgan, one, being the running game coordinator, two, being the offensive line coach, should at least be able to speak to these things and explain who the personnel is and better for what packages. So again, I feel like that's another knock on Chris Morgan, who I know I'm very down on. And even today, we saw a lot of issues. One with pre-snap penalties. I don't know if all of those are on coaching. I don't know if it's on still not understanding where Caleb Williams is at with his cadences. I know we saw the Cole Kmet one, the second one,
that was
where he was like
hopping
in motion, but then like
the timing was off.
Yeah, he thought that the ball was going to be snapped when he got there, and it wasn't.
I got one I want to ask you about because Fox did a really poor job of showing the replay, but the league is making an emphasis on making sure tackles aren't too far back off the line, and they called that on Wright.
Yeah,
but I don't know if that was a good call, bad call. Like, was it a bad play by Wright, or was it kind of a bad call?
I'll be honest. I wasn't listening to the Fox broadcast at the time. I was watching the game, but listening to the radio broadcast, which I actually think I'm going to start doing a little more often.
The TV was pretty rough.
I was listening. Yeah. I
sorry, Adam
Amin, right?
Like
the local
him,
guy, right? But no, I mean,
Mark Sanchez was butt fumbling nonstop with his mouth.
Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer,
yeah.
Right? Tom Thayer actually stated that even though Darnell Wright, and I'm going to believe him because he's an offensive lineman, right?
Yep. Expertise.
Was talking about how even though it's being called on Darnell Wright, it's actually in that situation, it was on the receiver
not
covering him.
Yeah.
So there it's a schematic issue. And is it the receiver out of position? Is it, again, coaching? Like, there's a lot of sloppiness.
Yeah.
But to your point, just 2-3 minutes ago, this is a brand new offense, a very young team, guys who have not fully played together for more than 1 year, right? Like some not even at all until this season. You have a rookie quarterback. I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces. Mm-hmm. Let's be happy that they're getting rid of these things now and hope that they improve by midway through the season.
It's what I've been saying the whole time. You don't play your division until week 11.
Right.
By then, this should be a cleaner operation.
And this was an NFC win.
Yes.
Right? That's big.
It's the first game they even played in the NFC. But the thing about Swift, even during the 3 games where he did not look good, he has a track record for being much, much better than he was showing.
Yes.
And so you kind of thought, not everything was on the line. Not everything was on scheme. Some of it might have been on him. But today, he looked so good. I was calling him Shifty Swifty.
Nice.
So that's hopefully that nickname sticks. But I have a quick question, and maybe just answer this question for me. Then we take a break and come back and do a little more. But something happened today that if you were a betting person, and that's a good plug for when we come back from the break.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can bet on this, but if you were a betting person, you would have said that this player would probably deal with an injury at some point.
Okay.
You know who I'm talking about?
I do know who you're talking about.
So I'm talking about Tevin Jenkins.
Yep.
Was it my imagination, or did things get considerably better on the line after he went out with injury? Now, I'm not trying to associate that necessarily.
I mean,
he's been bad this year, and they looked good.
I have said multiple times now on the podcast that Tevin Jenkins is not earning a contract at this point. The way he looks right now, I would not pay him unless he's willing to take backup money, right? Like that's where I'm at with him. Does he have time to improve and prove us wrong? Yes.
Yep.
Now he's injured again. Here we are again.
I mean, I hope it's not serious. I didn't hear any updates. I
normally
don't give you those right away.
Like he got rolled up on. We'll see how that goes. I don't know if it's a back again. I don't know if it was lower body. We'll have to find out. Some people might already know this because, again, I have not listened to any of the post-game coverage, which shame on me. But I had family events, and family events, unfortunately, took precedent.
I mean, I think you're looking at him as he's got to be one of your top 5. But he hasn't performed like that.
And he hasn't. And I will say, I texted it. I said, wait, Tevin's out. Why are we looking better? Because I do want to go back, and I tweeted this out during the game. I said I'd like to go back and watch that touchdown drive that they had. That was pretty lengthy because I want to see and just focus on the actual offensive linemen. And like, was it that they were winning their matchups, or was it pure luck? Was it, the running back did an exceptional job? Caleb was able to get things out quick. I don't know what it was. I want to go back and like harness that, like just hone in on that one area and see exactly where we're at with it. I haven't had a chance to do that, but I will hopefully before our next podcast.
And I hope the Bears do that too.
They better. They better. But I do recall Nate Davis and Coleman Shelton having a couple rough blocks, misses. I can't even say they're blocks because they weren't blocks. Misses after Tevin went out. But overall, it definitely felt better.
I mean, it was a much better performance from the O-line collectively. And obviously, when you rush for over 100 yards, you would feel that way based on the early results they got in 3 games. But I'm at the point when Ryan Bates is healthy, I would like to see him at center just to see if he's an upgrade. Now, if you're on a winning streak at this point and things are kind of working, do you shake it up for no reason? Maybe not.
And is he more suited to just take Nate Davis's spot at the right guard spot?
Or that. I mean, you would like, again, by week 8, by week 9, definitely by week 11, you'd like to have answers to these and fewer questions.
Even without Tevin Jenkins, they still could not pick up these stunt blitzes. And we saw it with Lake, who hesitated to come in. And I think that in the broadcast, I was listening to Fox at the time, stated it seemed like they thought he was going to stay out in coverage, but he just delayed blitzed. And Matt Pryor, double teamed with Braxton Jones and didn't even see Lake go by him. But it really didn't matter because on that play is when Coleman Shelton literally went Olay as the defensive tackle went right by.
I'm not going to lie. I feel like doubling whoever Braxton Jones is going against isn't a bad idea.
It was probably
he's getting
Jared
bull
Verse.
rushed every damn time.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what week it is. This is becoming a pattern. I'm very concerned about that.
It was probably Jared Verse, who I'm on record as saying was the best defensive pass rusher in this draft. So,
well, why don't we take a break and on the back end talk a little bit more generalities, but also key in on certain players.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
For now, please enjoy these ads. Welcome back, Hellas Huddlers. Just real quick, this episode, as always, or I should say as of lately, is brought to you by BetStamp. If you are looking to make a bet, a little wager on the Chicago Bears or maybe another NFL team or any sport for that matter, go to our sign-up page at signupexpert.com/huddle, and you will find links to any sports book that is available in your region with great sign-up offers. So maybe you're already signed up for DraftKings, maybe you're already signed up for FanDuel, but maybe you don't know about things like MGM, Caesars, Bet Rivers if you're in the Illinois area. There's a bunch of other ones. Go check it out. Hit that button, make a deposit, get your sign-up offer. Hopefully you win some cash, unlike me today where I made a 5-bet parlay and I hit 4 out of my 5, except for DJ Moore, who I took the over on and only got about half of what I needed.
That brings me to something real quick. Who do you think on the Bears had the most targets today?
Just based on memory, I'm going to say DeAndre Swift.
It was DeAndre Swift. 7 targets. He caught all 7. Next was DJ Moore at 6. But the bigger thing that jumped out at me is only 5 players total were even targeted. Swift, Komet, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze. Allen and Odunze 3 each. So I'm going to come back to that. He had 1 catch for 10 yards. But I'm going to come back to that when we talk big picture and maybe people who watch box scores more than they watch the game.
Yeah.
So here's
the thing. We talked about a Bears win. We didn't really talk defense,
No.
diving into the defense. We didn't really talk Caleb Williams.
Oh, yeah. They drafted him early, right?
It's amazing that we didn't talk about this. And here's the reason why. And again, we called it the DeAndre Swift episode, and that's who we focused on. Kudos to him. He got his props. Granted, he didn't get the game ball. Don't know if you heard who got the game ball. I did hear this part about the press conference. Mercedes Lewis got the game ball. 272nd game, 40 years old. Matt Eberflus gave him the game.
I could be wrong. I thought they gave out game balls, like multiple.
I was just told.
Okay, because I know he got
by
one,
Eberflus
but
saying
others
that
definitely
he
did.
got
Okay,
the
so
ball.
we'll give out a few on our show.
Sure. Okay. Well, DeAndre Swift is getting one.
He's getting one.
Caleb Williams is getting one. He didn't even throw for 200 yards. He didn't throw for 200 yards. I think we've talked about it many times, and I didn't look at his rushing stats. He probably broke 200 yards with his rushing stats. Probably had
He was
about
efficient
20.
with his running.
Probably had about 20 yards.
He had 5 carries for 12 yards.
Okay, he did not. Oh, well, because you probably deduct for sacks. Okay, he did not break 200 yards.
I don't think
because
so.
I think he only had 179.
157 throwing,
Yeah,
but 17 for 23 passing.
that's weird because the stat line I saw had 170 something. So
That might not include sacks.
maybe that's not including sacks.
He was
in what
sacked
you're
3
looking
times for
at now.
24.
Okay, that would make sense then. Either way, he did not hit 200 yards, and they won. And I don't care that he didn't throw for 200 yards. Don't care.
This was one of his stats.
Yeah, zero turnovers.
turnovers.
We're looking back
He
at
did fumble when he
week
was
1.
hit once. It was recovered by the Bears.
Yeah. But we're looking back at week 1, basically, right? Here's the difference, though. Week 1, his QB rating, 55. Week 2, his QB rating, 51. Week 3, jumped up into the 80s. Today, he cracked 100.
So you're talking about passer rating or QB rating?
Not QBR, but QB rating. Yes.
So passer rating.
Correct.
Which like can max out at like 158.3
correct.
or something.
100%
Okay.
correct. Yes. I did not see what his QBR was. I'm guessing it's probably in like the 40s or 50s.
Today or?
Yeah.
No, I thought it would be better. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It wasn't. He didn't fill up the box score.
Correct. One passing touchdown, right?
But protected the ball. Matt Eberflus, not famously, but emphasized, and I don't know if I heard it on Hard Knocks or just we follow the Bears very closely, but end every drive with a kick.
Yeah.
So that means it's a field goal, it's an extra point, or it's a punt.
Yeah.
There's a game ball going out to a
Yes.
punter as well.
Yes,
just
there
so
is.
you know. Might as well give it to him right
Let's
now.
give it to him now.
Tory Taylor.
Tory Taylor
Finally had a game worthy of
Awesome
a 4th round pick.
I don't know how many punts he ended with, but at one point in the game, I think I tweeted it out or texted it to you guys. His stat line was 4 punts for a 60.5 average and 2 inside the 10.
So he ended up with 5 punts, a 55.4 average, a 66 long, 1 touchback, which, by the way, it bounced at the 3, went way up.
There's just no one there.
No way to really get it, but still well placed by him.
Yep.
And 3 inside the 20.
Amazing.
That's a
And
weapon.
2 were inside the 10.
Especially when you have that good of a defense.
Yes.
So Caleb seems to know, and I do believe him when he's kind of like, I want to win. I don't care what my box score looks like.
Yeah.
He is doing what he has to do for them to win if he's protecting the ball, finding his moments, working the check downs.
Yeah.
We do want to see him hit these
long
to
balls.
long range throws. He missed one to DJ Moore. He missed one to Odunze.
Yeah.
And all season, he really hasn't looked good in that area.
But what I like, and I feel like it's different with some other quarterbacks going around the league right now, is I looked at his intended air yards today, and it was going into this game, it was 8.4. I want to say he was 4th or 5th in the league for intended air yards. That's per pass attempt, not completion, right? Per pass attempt. His completion one is obviously slightly lower, probably in the 7s or 6s if I had to take a wild guess. But people were hyping up Jaden Daniels. We talked about it with Bob on the Wednesday show. Jaden Daniels looked good again today. But I watched that game, part of it anyway. I was watching it on Red Zone. And he literally had a pass that went for like 35 yards for a little dump off to the running back that went to a touchdown. If you're just looking at his box score, like that's going to inflate those numbers. It's going to look great. But if you look at his intended air yards before today, it was 5.4. He was in the bottom 15% of the league. Like, and again, I'm not saying that he is bad. He is playing great.
Right.
Washington is playing great. They had
Yeah.
a great game today against
Yes, they did.
Arizona.
They're being asked to do different things.
They're just being asked to do different things. And we need to stop honestly, we just need to stop comparing them in the sense of who's better, who's not, and just let them play because we're only 4 games into the season. It's way too early to know who's going to have the better career.
Right. So, dang, you were saying something that I wanted to jump on, but I'm losing it. So similar to how I was saying, like with Swift, even though it wasn't clicking, you have this idea that it would, and you kind of saw it today. That's how I feel with Caleb and his deeper throws.
Yeah.
Like he seems too good and has too much arm talent and the right mentality in reading the field and making reads that this will stay a problem beyond, what it's become.
Yeah, and he's not fully on page with his receivers all the time.
That's more what it seems to
right?
be.
Like he had an issue with the ball that, to me, I felt like he needed to hit DJ Moore on that throw. DJ Moore kind of let up.
He slowed down for some reason.
He did. But I also felt like if he just put more of a drop it in, instead of like that dart
on a line,
right? Like he would have had a better opportunity. But again, it seemed like, because you saw them talking on the sidelines afterwards, it seemed like Caleb was explaining like, look, this is what I wanted you to do.
Right.
And we saw that happen in the preseason with Roma Dunze, and then he did it, right? In the next game.
Out of bounds.
I know. But he did it.
Brisker style.
He did it. Brisker style. So again, like you're seeing growth. You're seeing growth as a leader. You're seeing growth as a decision maker. You're seeing growth as a playmaker. That's what we need this season. They're not winning a Super Bowl. They are not. But even if they push for the playoffs and you're getting that experience for Caleb Williams, that's great for the Chicago Bears in the future.
Absolutely. And I'm not going to rule out all those other things because this defense is legit. And as I was just saying, if the offense just says we need to end every drive with a kick, you can play complimentary football. I mean, 4 games in, all 4 have been 1-score games.
Yeah, 21 points is the most points they've given up.
And they haven't been given up a lot. So if this offense, I keep thinking, like, every game there's been 1 or 2 balls by Williams where you're like, he could have hit that.
Yep.
And then the 157 you're talking about is 190 with 2 scores instead of 1. Like if he hits both, now he's at 230 or something like that.
For those of you out there who want to compare quarterbacks, Justin Fields looked awful in the beginning of the game, right? They were losing bad. Came back. People say it was garbage time, but I'll give them credit because it was in the 4th quarter and they made a run. Lost 24-27, I believe, was the final.
Yeah.
He threw for 290 some yards, I believe.
Over 300.
It was over 300. Okay.
Yep. With that, did he ever do that as a Bear?
Yes.
One
Pittsburgh,
time,
I believe.
Ironically.
1 passing touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns, right?
No picks.
Nope. I thought he had 1.
2 fumbles. 1 was lost.
Oh, it was a fumble.
No
That's
picks.
what it was. So, again, over 300 yards passing. Looks great, right? We saw that last week with Caleb Williams. What happened last week? They lost, right? What happened this week with Justin Fields? They lost. There's no perfect formula to winning a game. There really isn't. And I guess the one perfect formula is don't turn the damn ball over.
And that's the key. Bears were clean today from that perspective. I like to see them clean up these penalties.
Yeah.
So can we shout out a few players, give out a few game balls?
4 game balls.
All right.
You mentioned 1 already. We got to give him
Brisker,
Thank
right?
you. Yes.
Yeah, Brisker.
And
we have an
our
IDP.
fantasy team.
IDP
Yes.
had a sack, had an interception, could have had 2.
Wait. That sack? Oh, my gosh. Going into that, drive, I was texting Bob and Justin. I was like, I'm so sick of watching this bend but don't break Lovie Smith-style defense. Can we please do something? And then they tried to blitz. It was a blitz with the linebackers, and Rivers, their running back, and their offensive line picked that blitz up perfectly. I think it was for a 20-some yard pass. It was fantastic. I want to say it was 2 plays later, though. That's when Brisker came in and just boom.
Brisker was saying in the post game, I was just waiting for coach to call my number.
Yes.
He was, he loves to come up and hit
He loves to hit guys.
And he had a few other really good tackles.
The one with
the one on the
Jalen Johnson?
sideline that should not, the Jalen Johnson one.
But he came in at the end.
Guy, yeah. But the one on the sideline, I did not like that was a flag. I mean, he probably should have gotten flagged for the sack, to be honest. came
It
at
was pretty
Stratford's
pretty
neck and head area.
Yeah.
But the one on the sideline, like Tyreek Stevenson was kind of going for the ball and like almost missed the tackle. And the guy's like one step barely out of bounds when he comes and cleans it up. So, but he's everywhere. Loves to hit. Led the team in tackles today. Had the sack. Had
2
an
interceptions.
One interception. The other one didn't count. An awareness issue.
But they still held him to 3.
But that's what the Bears D did today. I think Rams made it into the red zone 4 times and only scored a touchdown once.
Yeah.
So
kudos
bend
to
but
the whole
don't break
defense.
did kind of work.
Yes.
But yeah, so Brisker's getting the game ball. We already gave one to Torrey Taylor.
Got to give one to Montez Sweat with that strip sack that led to points.
Absolutely. And that's when the Bears offense needed a little boost.
Yep.
Because I think the first half, they really were struggling. They ended the day with 10 penalties. 7 of those were in the first half.
Well, to be honest, I feel like the refs were a little bit just too involved in this game on both sides. Like, it just felt frustrating. Like, you'd see a penalty be called one way, and then it's like, well, why didn't you call this one? But then at the same time, I'm like, no, just kind of stay out of it. Like, just let them play. So, yeah. But the pre-snap ones are the ones that bother me, I think, the most. Yes, right?
Of course.
They got to get that
cleaned up.
Seem like
mental errors.
Got to get that cleaned up. You're seeing it from all of your players. Cole Kmet had 2. Darnell Wright had 2, I believe. The one that was technically shouldn't have been on him, and then I think a false start.
Yep.
Braxton Jones, I think, had 1. Everyone pretty much seemed to have 1 on the offensive line.
I think they had 1 even on the special teams because there was one drive they started at the 25 instead of the 30.
Yeah.
So, I mean, field position, like those types of things. Complementary football also involves not shooting yourself in the foot and going backwards on plays. Yeah. There was one right at the end of the quarter. This is on the defense, but clearly Stafford's coming up there just to get you to jump, and you jump. But then the Rams start the second quarter with a false start. So I'm like, okay, well, it evened out. But that's something you want to clean up. But again, and go back a few Hallis Huddle episodes, it's so much nicer to talk about what you're cleaning up after a win.
Yes, 100%. I will. I got 2 more game balls.
Okay.
Jerron Dexter, who has vastly improved from year 1 to year 2.
Yes, he has.
Everyone's like, how did you pass on Jalen Carter? Da, da, da. Jerron Dexter has looked fantastic this year. He's actually looked good at the end of last year. We talked about the growth that we saw over the last 6 games. Carried it over into this year, and it's been even better.
Yes, it has.
I have one that I think you're going to be shocked.
Really?
Yeah.
What side of the ball? Or is that a giveaway?
That's a giveaway. I guess I'll say defensive side of the ball.
Defensive side of the ball. Jalen Johnson?
No, it's a trick question. Matt Eberflus.
Okay.
I was very impressed by the fact that they turned around and made the decision to accept that penalty that happened deep in Rams territory that pushed them back to 2nd and 15 instead of keeping it 3rd and 5. And I know people are like, well, but that's not that big of a deal. But they ended up getting an incomplete pass, and then they ended up getting a stop, and then their kicker missed the kick.
Right.
And if they were that much closer, I guarantee you he wasn't missing that kick. Would it have made a difference in the game? Probably not. I don't know. But it was a close enough game that it definitely could have.
I'll agree with you on that, but I also don't know if the credit all goes to him or if maybe the blame goes on the referee. Because twice in this game, the ref announced that a penalty was declined, and then there was like an awkward moment when it was like, no, we accept.
I see what you're saying.
He did it early in the game too with McVay. I don't remember the details of the play. I just remember going, why'd they decline that?
Right.
And then the ref coming back and being like, actually, they accept.
Maybe it was.
Either way, it was a pivotal decision that he made correctly.
Correct.
And we've gotten on him for other things.
Exactly. We've gotten on him. So for so many other things, I feel like we got to give him his props when they're due. He was better with clock management today. I saw people complaining about the fact, why didn't you pass? I think it was second. Yeah, it was a second down play. They ended up not converting on this, but it was within the 2 minute. I'm sorry, it was going into the 2 minute warning. Rams, I think, had used their last timeout, and people were saying, "Why didn't
Williams
you do
kept
something
it on an option?
Why didn't you do something with the passing game?" I think it was either the Williams option or it was just another DeAndre Swift run that literally didn't go very much, and they ended up with 3rd and 5. But people online were saying, "Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you try to convert that ball or at least get closer to converting that first down.
Because an incomplete stops
With
the
a
clock.
screen, anything, right? Exactly. An incomplete stops the clock. That led them to the 2-minute warning, right? So then you're 3rd and 5. You run the ball again. You almost get the first down.
Right. Then they try to bait them. Very successful.
Yeah, no, they
I
tried.
was surprised they didn't take the penalty to give a little cushion.
Agreed.
To
They-
give
that
Taylor
was a little
punting
weird.
angle.
Like, why waste the time out there? Because what happens if something bad happens? You might need that.
Maybe he's that good of a punter.
But you spoke to it. You trust that defense, right? Like, you trust that defense. So,
And Stafford is known for leading game-winning drives.
Yes.
Like, that's one of the things he's known for.
including against Chicago.
And boom, you start that drive and just it's
Brisket.
over. One play later, it's over.
That's brisket.
So I thought, well, if you're going to give Eberflus a game ball, let's give like Waldron a game towel or something. Like I don't know about full-blown ball, but he started to know his personnel.
And he learned from his mistakes. So I'll give him credit where it's due. But there were still a lot of things that I saw that I didn't like.
Weird scheme things still.
Yes.
Fewer
Personnel
screens.
decisions weren't as bad.
That's what I'm saying.
Because
Know
we
your
didn't
personnel.
see DeAndre Carter. We saw Keenan Allen. So that helped.
Yeah. I don't
Things
know
are-
what Khalil Herbert's job is on this team anymore, but you guys can talk about that. Maybe you and Bob.
Backup's backup.
Yeah, he's a backup, and you may need him because it's a
You-
long
oh,
season
you
and
have to
people get banged up in this sport. So 2-2,
2-2.
got Carolina next week. Jaguars haven't won a game yet in London the week after that, so
But-
who knows?
Carolina almost won again today.
I know.
So, granted, against two really bad defenses.
I'll leave it to you and Bob to talk about.
That's a win. That's a wrap.
Love it, man.
Bear down.
Bear down.
Claws
Thumbs
up.
up. Bears win, baby.
The Bears.